Nintendo Direct season, baby. It is time, June 9th. Book it. You can book it. June 9th is going to be the day we have a Nintendo Direct. Why do I think that? Nate the Hate said it was coming next week as of the time of this recording, which means within the week of June 8th to June 12th. Why do I say Tuesday? Because a ton of other sources have said Tuesday, and also around this E3 time, around the June summer era, they like to do tree houses after their big directs, showcasing their big games. The only way they can do that is if you do it on a Tuesday, treehouse on a Wednesday, treehouse on a Thursday, maybe even on a Friday, and then you wrap up your work week. So let's get into some predictions for what is going to be in this first Nintendo Direct of the season. I'm so excited. First up, you know I had to say it, The Legend of Zelda. We are going to see a lot of Zelda, in my opinion. I predict that The Legend of Zelda's 40th anniversary will get a segment here, either at the beginning of the Direct or the end of the Direct. On Zelda's 35th anniversary, they did it towards the end of the Direct. They showed off Skyward Sword, they gave us new Joy-Con, they gave us a Game & Watch of all things, they gave us a teaser look at Tears of the Kingdom. What are they going to do for us for the 40th anniversary, though? Well, first, they're probably going to give us a little logo. They're going to give us a look at Aonuma. He's going to fade in, and he's going to say, "Hey everyone, it is Zelda's 40th anniversary. Thank you for playing Zelda, thank you for loving Zelda, and for being with us all this time." We don't have enough of the next 3D Zelda done to show you right now, but we are hard at work on it, rest assured. But in the meantime, and then boom, he's gonna show us Ocarina of Time, the Switch 2 remake. This game is going to look incredible, but what direction are they going to go with this game? Listen, people have been saying that they might Breath of the Wildify it and make it like a big open world, interconnected the zones, and then be able to make it to where it looks like Breath of the Wild in that art style. I don't think they're gonna do that. I think what they're gonna try to do is make it look as similar to the original art style as possible. Just something that they couldn't do with the hardware that they had with the N64. This is not gonna be a huge, gritty, realistic game. It's not gonna be like Star Fox. If it is, I don't know if that's going to look any good, but I guess we'll see. This is a huge announcement, one of the biggest they could possibly give us, and something that is truly worthy of the honorary holiday title for the Nintendo Switch 2. We're still waiting for that holiday title. Ocarina of Time, definitely getting announced. What else are we going to see for 40th anniversary of Zelda? I think we're going to get our first look at the Zelda movie. Teaser trailer for that. It has moved up into the last week of April. We are going to see this movie less than a year. They're going to give us a teaser. They're going to show us a little bit about it, and we're going to get a very intentional look at this movie. Or at the very least, we're going to see Wes Ball, the director, come out and say some words or something like that and show us a bit of it, or at least some pictures or just anything. Then I think we're going to get an Age of Imprisonment free update. I think they're going to give us some new content, maybe some new characters, maybe a bunch of new stages, some new weapons, all kinds of different stuff like that. Then I also think they are not going to give us an HD version of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. No, that's going to be too good. They're not going to give us 3 old games all revamped for the Switch 2. I don't think it's going to happen. But what I do think they'll do is, alongside of Wind Waker on the NSO GameCube subscription, they will put Twilight Princess on GameCube. We'll finally be able to play Twilight Princess on modern hardware on something that isn't a Wii U or a Wii or a GameCube. And to wrap up the Zelda 40th anniversary celebration, I predicted at the beginning of this year, and here it is now, my render of Donkey Kong wearing a Link cap and Pauline wearing a Zelda cap. A man can dream. I think they're going to give Donkey Kong a weird update for this game, and I don't know why, but somehow, some way, the Zelda team convinced Koizumi to put that in the Donkey Kong game. Next up, this is the big announcement that has not been leaked yet. I think there's going to be 1 or 2 of these really big announcements that we have not heard of yet. I'm predicting, and it could go one of 2 ways here, but I'm predicting that we're going to see not a Luigi's Mansion 4, which is really breaking my heart here, but a Metroid game, a brand new 2D Metroid to follow up Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread was phenomenal. I think it's the best Metroid game they've ever made, including all of the old Golden Era game. Samus feels incredible in Dread. She moves like butter. The way she controls in that game is amazing. The design is so beautiful. Running from the Emmys is a thrill. The only thing I don't like about that game is the music. I feel like so much of those tracks are just very generic, but the combat is brutal. It is difficult. I love everything about Dread, and here we're going to see a brand new 2D Metroid game coming out this year. Or, you know, maybe early next year. I'm not here to predict release dates just yet, but for this prediction, I have a 2D Metroid game coming out within the next year, and we're going to see it in this Direct. Metroid Prime 4 was a huge disappointment for Nintendo, but they knew internally they were going to try to give us a 3D experience and then a 2D experience. It's been 5 years since Metroid Dread. I really think they're going to hammer this home, and if this game doesn't do well, Metroid might just go away for a while, but I think this game will do the same amount of success of Metroid Dread, and people will get into the series and have a great time. Next up, I predict there will be a Nintendo Switch 2 sports game, or a Nintendo Switch Sports Switch 2 edition. Nate the Hate also leaked this. I talked about this in my video covering all of his different leaks, but I really believe him in all of these things. I'm predicting everything that he said just so I can be extra right on these things. But I think Switch Sports, it's honestly inevitable. 18 million copies. Did you know that game sold 18 million copies on the Nintendo Switch? And in my video covering those leaks, every single game, every single one of the top 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch games has either gotten a graphical update or a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. The only exception to that is Super Mario Party, and the only reason that didn't get it is because Super Mario Party Jamboree, the sequel to that game, came along and stole it. But every other game got an update. So if you really look at it, what is right below that? You've got Switch Sports. It sold a ton on the Switch. It's great for casuals. It's great for people who want to get in on the Switch 2, for families. They're really trying to push for that family audience, especially coming this holiday with that Switch 2 increase in price. They want to get more people interested right now. They're going to add a bunch of games that's going to make the Switch Sports game look like it was total trash in comparison. And even if it is just a Switch 2 edition, they're going to add at least 3 new sports. Then I've got Pikmin 4 getting a Switch 2 edition coming to the Nintendo Switch within the next month or two. Pikmin 4, it got a random update last year out of nowhere. It just got a random update and people were like, what? Why would you make this game better and not give us a Switch 2 edition? They didn't even update the graphics. Well, the game already looks phenomenal. The game is an amazing title. I love Pikmin 4. It was my first entry in the series. I went back and played all of the games right after that. I love Pikmin 4 and I cannot wait to see it on my Switch 2 looking even better because the game was already so gorgeous. But it's just a great excuse to get back into the series, a great excuse for people who hadn't played it on the Switch 1, or maybe for people who just bought Switch 2s for the first time, first Nintendo console, to get into this Pikmin talk, to get into whatever it is that weirdo Miyamoto has been telling them they should buy. The Switch 2 edition of Pikmin 4 is going to look great, going to run great, the loading times are going to be far fewer, and they're actually going to add a co-op mode. For the first time in this game, you will be able to play in real co-op. That was a big criticism for Pikmin 4 after Pikmin 3, was the serious lack of a real co-op mode. So they're going to address that. They're going to make this the definitive Pikmin 4 and Pikmin experience overall, and everyone is going to probably buy it. At least that's what Nintendo hopes for. All right, next up, I swear this is the last thing that we have heard from Nate the Hate, but I also agree with this, and I have been saying this should happen as well for the whole year. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The game desperately needs an upgrade. It desperately needs those visuals to be up-resed, desperately needs the tutorials to be fixed, desperately needs this story to be told in a much better and more efficient way to get people into the best-selling Monolith Soft game of all time. Xenoblade 2 sold 2.7 million copies. It's the best-selling Xenoblade game by far, and it could look so much better. It could be so much better. People might give it more of a chance on this console. One thing I haven't talked about in those previous videos about this game is that I really do worry after Xenoblade X, so many people were upset at the way they up-res that game. It was just like a weird glimmering effect for some people. I thought it was fine, especially because it was running in 60 FPS. I barely even noticed, but the more I played and the more I saw people say it, I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. There is some weird shimmering going on here with the AI upscaling. But I really, really, really hope they don't do that for Xenoblade 2. I hope they learn their lesson, that it looks better, that they add an epilogue, that they add something from the end of that story, that we get to see what happened right after the end, right after Pyra and Mithra both were able to separate and come back to Rex. What happened between the three of them with Nia and Rex and Pyra and all of these people? What did they do in between then and Future Redeemed? Well, we know what they did. They kind of did each other and have some babies, but
You sly dog!
we know we need to see more about this game, and maybe it's going to be something like some sort of prequel, something where you follow Amalthus through his cutscenes that we saw. There could be any kind of thing like that, but I think Monolith Soft wants to do this game justice, wants to do their best-selling game in the series of the company. They want to do it right. Next prediction, I have DLC for Mario Kart World. I can't remember if this was in my wishlist video or my predictions video, but I think I said something along the lines of $80 for Mario Kart World only can be justified if they decide to say moving forward that all DLC will be free, and that's just not going to happen. I don't know if that was a prediction or what, but I'm just going to trash that. If they give us new tracks, it's going to be paid, but I think there's a chance here that there's going to be both free updates where they give us some new content that way, some new skins, give us some new Donkey Kong and Pauline skins, matching Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then in the DLC pack, they might have you go and buy it to where you can get new characters, King K. Rool, get yourself that new Kong, Void Kong from Donkey Kong Bonanza, get you some Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, get you some all kinds of different characters and new tracks. They could do it to where they connect the islands to other islands outward, or they just do something where they go up in the sky. If they were to do Donkey Kong Bonanza themed tracks and characters, they could do it to where they dig underground and you go under to find a bunch of underground tracks. That's really a great idea considering Bonanza was all about breaking the ground beneath you. One way or another, Mario Kart World is getting an update. They're going to update probably a lot about how the game works. They're going to change the stats, change up a whole bunch of stuff. They're going to make it better than ever, and this game that I love so dearly is going to get brand new content. They're going to continue to try and update this game throughout the entire lifespan of the Switch 2, and I think unlike 8 Deluxe, they're going to get on this early and often. Next up, I think we're going to get a free update for Pokemon Pokopia. It could be some DLC, it could be paid DLC, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say free updates for Pokopia because the game did incredibly well. It was such a big phenomenon. So many people bought it. So many people loved it. It was the system seller for the Switch 2. It really got the ball rolling on people finally stopping and saying that the Switch 2 was a great console. I personally feel like it was right around when Pokopia released that all of that hate kind of started to go down and people's enjoyment started to go up. My feed has been so much more positive since then. Pokopia deserves new content. I think the Pokemon Company very much is proactive when they have a success on their hands. They love giving us DLC for their big games. Spin-offs don't usually get updates like that, but I do believe Pokemon Snap, their most recent Pokemon spin-off on a Switch console, I think that did get some updates. So I think they're just going to try and be very smart, very safe, give us their biggest experience and some more of it. Next prediction, we're going to see updates for previously announced games. We're not going to see Star Fox in this direct, if only in passing maybe, but we just got an overview trailer, so I really don't think that we're going to see Star Fox. I can guarantee you we're going to see Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. That game is going to get a big new trailer, going to show us off some new gameplay. It's going to be polished, it's going to look great, and I really hope that they went the Three Houses route and not the Fire Emblem Engage route. The life sim aspect of Three Houses, the way the story drove every single thing that you did, combined with the gameplay that so many Fire Emblem fans from Engage love so much, if we could just merge those two together, we'll have a huge success. Three Houses was such a big game for Fire Emblem, and it sold well. It got people like me interested in buying, and I put hundreds of hours into that game playing through the multiple storylines. Then they gave us DLC with another storyline. Fire Emblem has so much untapped potential and could truly change the way Nintendo fans look at it if they decide to go back to those roots and make this game what it really could be. I think this game is going to launch in August or September. Pretty sure it's going to be August, but you never know. Other updates that we could see would include Rhythm Heaven Groove and Splatoon Raiders, which come out in July. Those are the two big first-party games for July. They kind of already gave us more looks at both of those, but there could be just one final push. I really do think that's going to be the case. And to kind of wrap up this update prediction section, I'm going to add a bonus prediction here and say, I think that they're going to say thank you for 2 years of Nintendo Switch. They're going to say it's been a full year. Thank you so much. We love the support. We appreciate all you've done. They did that at E3 in 2017, right after launch of the Switch. They were like, guys, thank you. We appreciate you so much. I think they're going to do that again. All right, now moving into some third-party games. We've got Metaphor ReFantazio coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Metaphor was Atlus's newest and best game from their studio. They really got all kinds of Game of the Year nominations. The game was lauded by so many fans across the board. People were really upset that there wasn't a Persona 6, but they were like, you know what? If we don't get Persona 6, at least we get Metaphor ReFantazio. This game's great. I loved Persona 5 Royal when I finished and played that game. I'm over halfway through Persona 3 Reload. I can't wait to get my hands on Persona 4 and then Persona 6, hopefully. I'm interested in seeing what that gameplay style looks like in a brand new fantasy world. Metaphor ReFantazio, I want it on my Switch. Then I'm going to wrap up 3 of these third-party games into one. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition will be coming out this year. They're going to show us a new look at it and give us a release date. Duskbloods, the exclusive for the Switch 2, timed exclusive. They're going to release it, and then eventually it will go to other consoles, but it's going to start on the Switch 2 exclusively. That game's going to get a release date. That game's going to get more footage. Finally, Minecraft Switch 2 Edition. There have been some weird rumors and ratings going about with ESRB showing Minecraft for the Switch 2, so why not? And then just one more thing here in my predictions before I get to what I predict will not be there. I really think that we're going to get a Switch 2 Lite. With the Nintendo Switch in 2017, they were just so just really trying to rush that out the door. They were so focused on making sure the base hardware got to people. Then 2 years later, they gave us a Lite, which really did boost some sales for very casual fans and just kids. Or, you know, just people who didn't even play their Switches on TVs and only knew they wanted handheld mode, so they got cheaper console. I really think that they're going to do that for the Switch 2. Earlier in the year, there was a weird rumor leak, something with the Nintendo website. You can go check out my video on it if you want to know more. But basically, there was a weird model that showed off a Switch 2 Lite, and I think that they're going to show it to us either sometime this summer or in this Direct, probably later. But if it's in this Direct, I want to call it here first. They really need to make sure that they give accessibility to people. With the price increase coming soon, $500 for the Nintendo Switch without a game, they're really trying to make sure that it's very accessible to as many people as possible. Buying a Switch 2 Lite for maybe $400 rather than a Switch 2 for $500, I think that could dramatically make more people willing to buy. Plus, it's always cool to have more hardware, and after a full year of the Switch 2 really succeeding, I think that they're going to try to keep the console afloat and those sales up and up and up with a Switch 2 Lite. That's what I predict we will see. Let me predict what we aren't going to see. Now listen, Nate the Hate said that Nintendo delayed their 3D Mario internally, that it was supposed to come out this year and that it's coming out in 2027. There is a possibility that we see that new 3D Mario here in this Direct. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if we see it at the earliest, it will be in September. The only way we see 3D Mario in this June Direct is if they decide to give it to us early in 2027, somewhere around that March time period. And you know what? There's a chance they do that. Seeing Capcom with all of their big releases, Pragmata, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village, like all of their biggest and brightest games come out early in the year, February and March. And Capcom honestly owns that part of the year every single year. Every company really likes that holiday slot. They like that September, October, November, December. They love to release their games at the end of the year. Capcom has really kind of challenged the industry there, and I wonder if Nintendo, seeing them, has really tried to follow suit here. But if we do get 3D Mario in this Direct, please don't be like 2 years away. Please don't be in a 2028 or no release date. Say at least 2027. If you're gonna give it to us, tell us a year. I don't think we're gonna see it because they have been working on it for so long. They have so many other games that they want to hype up and have people buy right now. If they show off a 3D Mario, I think the only thing that's gonna do is make people who have Switch 2s or people who are on the fence just not want to buy anything else. There's also a chance that it does the opposite. I know so many people say that it's good for them to announce it prior to its release, so that way people like us, me, on YouTube can make content about it and get that hype train rolling. But I just don't like the Tears of the Kingdom aspect of things, where it's like, wow, we waited literally 6 years for that game's release, it felt like. I guess it was more like 4 or 5, but still, for a sequel to a game, you really don't want it announced in 2019 and then releasing in 2023. So I don't think we're going to see 3D Mario here. It's possible. We're pretty much guaranteed for it to be coming next year, so September, I would really start looking for that. But think about Mario Odyssey. It got revealed in January. Like, sure, we saw it in the Switch reveal in October, but the actual game reveal, the first trailer for the game, was in January, and then it released in October. So I don't think they want to give us a year and a half before release. Then to go along with that, we're not going to see any new 3D Zelda. This is something I'm kind of going out on a limb on as well. There is a chance that for the anniversary, Aonuma, who loves to tease his games way too early, might just say, here's the first look, and gives us like 15 seconds of footage. I would love that and hate that. Like, I'm not going to complain. If we see 3D Zelda, I'm not going to complain, but I don't want to wait all this time again. Like, it's only been 3 years since Tears of the Kingdom, and we got our Switch 2 editions of Breath and Tears last year. I just don't want, with Ocarina of Time remake coming out this year as well, to have those expectations and for them to be not met or disappointed. So please, Nintendo, make me right. Don't show us 3D Zelda until it's about a year out. Another one that has been really rumored by a lot of people, mostly by Kiwi Talks, Super Smash Brothers. What are we talking about? No, we're not going to see Super Smash Brothers at this Direct. Another game, I could just totally be wrong here, but why in the world would they do that? Why would they give it to someone who isn't Sakurai when Sakurai is clearly still making games and still has the desire to do so? Unlike any other developer in the industry, unlike any other director, unlike any other personality, I've never seen people talk about Sakurai the way they do anyone else. Instead, we always talk about him retiring or being his last Smash game. That was because of a lot of his health scares, but I think that was something that the community made up He was never talking about retirement. There was never going to be Sakurai just going off into the distance, going off and fading into the light. No, he loves making games. He loves pouring his heart and soul into it. And he took a break and he made hundreds of YouTube videos. He's just a workaholic. That's just how he is. And you're telling me that in his prime, making a game like Kirby Air Riders, as great as it was, that Nintendo's just gonna say, someone else make those games. No, as long as Sakurai has air in his lungs, he's going to make Smash Brothers, or at least have a significant part in its development. So for Kirby Air Riders to have been out for all of this time now, to have only been a year since then, released in November, they're not gonna have Smash be revealed at this Direct for it only to come out in like 2-3 years. No way. The earliest we see Super Smash Bros. Is next year for the year after that. I don't believe we're going to see it this year at all. Then finally, this is the last prediction that I could be so wrong about, but I don't think we're going to see Luigi's Mansion 4. I talked about it earlier. I love Luigi's Mansion, and maybe this is just me setting my expectations in the floor so that way I can scream and be so happy when it happens. Luigi's Mansion 4, man, we're not going to see it. Why? I just have a feeling, you know, there's a lot of logic that goes into so many of my predictions, but for whatever reason, Luigi's Mansion 4 ain't it. Last year, I really thought that they were going to push it. I thought that that was going to be a 10-pole title for the Switch 2, that they were going to give it to us and people were going to be so excited, and they just didn't prop it up the way I thought they would. I could still be wrong because I think Metroid and Luigi's Mansion 4, whichever one of those does come true, I think fits that October timeframe perfectly, but neither of them are going to come out together, so I'm either going to be so right or so wrong. So you know what? I'm holding out hope that there's potential for it to be revealed in September. They could do it like they did in 2018. They revealed it in the 2018 September Direct, and then it released in October of 2019. Maybe they'll do the same kind of thing, where it's like in June they reveal it, and then they release it early September next year. But for whatever reason, I'm just kind of backing off on Luigi's Mansion. I feel like Nintendo is going to hold that to their chest and make that a much bigger deal, let that come out within a year or two from now. There are so many franchises, so many big games that have to come out for Nintendo that they're producing as we speak, but they also need to make sure that they spread these games out to make sure the Switch 2 has a long and successful life. And if they believe in Luigi's Mansion like I believe in it, like I know it sold so well on the Switch, maybe instead of putting it out early on the console like I thought they would, they're going to save it for later on to make sure that it's a big game for a dry year for Nintendo. So those are my big predictions for the Nintendo Switch 2 June Direct. We're finally getting one this year. I have such high expectations for this Direct. It's been since September, and September's Direct was really fine, and so many people were mad at it, and I just want to see a great Direct. June ones always tend to be the best, so here we go. If you're excited, make sure you like this video and leave a comment down below telling me all your thoughts on all my predictions and give me some of yours. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you also click that notification bell, and consider joining my membership program to get early access to my videos and some cool perks. If you want to know what I was talking about with that leak stuff, go on the left side of your screen to see all of Nate the Hate's leaks from his podcast. Click on the right side of your screen if you want to see what I was talking about and why I believe Smash Brothers is not coming anytime soon. So thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you have yourself a phenomenal day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I'll see you all in the next video.